Welcome back to the International Guru Purnima celebration in Schweibenalp in Switzerland. And I'm here with Pujari and Raghu and Ramloti, and I'm sure there's more devotees that will pop in. And we're going to be sharing some Satsang with you. So I'll hand it over to Pujari. Bole Baba Ki Jai.
Found one microphone. Is that good enough? Yeah, I managed to put it on and I thought, oh, there's one more mic. It is difficult to say anything. We have such an intense celebration and experience from Islam. Babaji is so alive at this festivity. I don't think we need to say much about it. But we will.
Satsang means speaking in truth, but we do that together. And since we are so spaced out, I don't know if there's any others of you who still maybe have something to get us going.
Or maybe a question.
Yeah, we can go from questions if somebody, because we have all been speaking already, but in smaller groups. But we are always very happy to share what we've experienced with Babaji, how it influenced our life, or what we are doing, or how we came to him, or what troubles we went through. But we shared so much of it that we personally don't know where to start, because we did it everything quite a few times. So we go for questions at the moment. If somebody has a question, we are happy to answer. Sorry?
What did he say about the Chanti?
Granti. Okay, let me start. When I came in 81, it was almost every other day. And in the evening time, Babaji would give darshan, we would sing Arti. Then Babaji at the end of Arti, we sing some bhajan, Baba would stop the bhajan and he started to speak some things. And it was translated by a lady into English. And every other day he would speak about this great kranti that would come and this big destruction that we had to face. And we had to be soldiers because we are going to experience very challenging times. The only thing important is to attach to God's name. That was like the main message that he gave many times. It's of course, we compiled a little booklet, this Babaji's message to humanity and pointers for your life. It's a very beautiful thing that came out in English and also in German. You really need to get a copy. I don't have one with me here. But there he speaks, there's a chapter about Kranti and revolution. There is all very compact written in 2 pages what Babaji said about it. But he said it many times. And we compiled it and we don't say it 20 times the same thing, but just in the essence of what he spoke. We are going through it. I think everybody feels the turmoil in the world. It's accelerating. We're having a good time. He also said you have to choose nectar or poison. Well, humans, we have the choice. You want nectar or poison? Here we get all the nectar. But the world is full of poison. And it is normal in Kali Yuga that life is like this. Like they write in the Vedas that in Kali Yuga, you wake up with a lie and you go to bed with a lie. The truth is, the deep truth is hard to find. On the surface, it's very difficult to be happy, let's say, on a worldly level. So that's what Baba warned us every other day about this coming revolution, that it's necessary a change of heart in all people to become human again. In those words he spoke.
As Pujari was saying, maybe not every other day, but it was very often, and I stayed there for
It's not loud enough.
Is it better like this?
Yes. No better.
Yeah. But it became really something, and he said quite a lot of things about it, and there is a little booklet, and in his own speech book, a very nice book, is compiled by Malti, which is called
Message of I
I Am You. Yes. I had such an incredible morning that I'm quite spaced out. These bhajans which were happening after the fire are still, my whole body is still going like that. The whole thing here is, me personally, it's unbelievable. I go to a lot of Navaratris and all the Guru Purnimas, but what's happening here is also new to me. The intensity of it. It's wonderful. It's many of you maybe it was so intense. He is so present at the moment without his physical body. But that I Am You book, I can really advise to get a good idea about what he said about the Kranti. And he said also that the actual, he said the Mahabharata took 17 days or something, and the Ramayana a little more. He said that this Kranti would take 17 minutes. So, but of course it's obvious that we are all cooking and it's becoming more and more intense, this whole thing at the moment in the world and inside of us. Depending on very much of how much we have to hold on to that flame that we have now, hold on to his feet, to actually fly through it. Depends on us. Well, there's so much intensity and difficulty going on in the world that really we need to stay focused now to particularly even to make it through, but because it's not only negative, this Kranti, it's going to be an enormous change, which when the few things that he spoke about after the Kranti is it's going to be a different world, which you cannot even imagine at the moment. It's going to be a higher consciousness. And we really need that so bad because we are killing each other. It is the true evolution to go to a higher level of consciousness. And we can easily see that all around in the world that it's really time for that.
Comes strongly to me that Babaji a few times said the new world starts from here, in here, the way we live together. So that's for now here also. This is the new world, how we can live and celebrate life together. And that's what Babaji wants to establish in the world. Is a world. He came for a revolution of the world, a change of heart. And at the moment we are living it. So I don't know, we all get some duty to spread this through the world, but that's the revolution. We are all his soldiers. He told you, nobody comes in here, and he calls everybody. So everybody here is called by Babaji. And we all have some duty, some mission, some service. And slowly the world will transform into a more humane domain, planet. I don't think we have to go to Mars to be happy. And we have to try to do it here. And we are living it by example. Because Babaji showed us this you do, this is how you worship the divine, this is how you see the divine in every being, in every plant, in everything. You cannot be not anywhere not. So, but that is a Mahavata. He came to guide humanity into a new era. And of course we personally, we've seen only glimpses of both. But we can speak about it. Babaji was really beyond. He knew, if he would sit, he would know all your thoughts of everybody in this hall, their karmas, their lifetimes. We cannot imagine the consciousness in which Babaji was biding, how you say that. Those who have experienced it, He knew everything about us, what we dreamed, what we did, what we want, what we don't want. Our beautiful thoughts. And he tried to pick our balloons. We become like so nobody. Not that difficult, but anyway, he confronted us with our obstacles and tried to play with us, that we become more and more aware of how we move through life and learn us how to move more beautiful through life. But the world has to go through an incredible crime. He said the world leaders don't have good intentions for their population, for their country. So this has to change. And it has to be from the root up. So it is, okay, we spoke about nuclear events. All, you say, earthquakes and disasters and floods. And he mentioned everything. So as the prophecies, you foretold what many great prophets said, that the coming times, coming years will be disastrous to experience. Like the mountains will come down. We live in paradise now, these days. But it's just, in 1 month it can be impossible even to get here. Like I said, you can't fly anymore, you can't do this anymore. So, I don't know. Granted. Nice question.
I just wanted to say a few things about it. That's one of the reasons he said make ashrams, like islands in the sea. It's where people can come for refreshment and nourishment. So I think we're all experiencing that now and the beauty of that. And it's important. But these ashrams also can be within our hearts when we do our morning practice, when we sit at our altar, because it's going to really require that we take a step each day toward this peacefulness and the centeredness. Because even though this is the Kali Yuga, one of my favorite stories in the Srimad Devi Bhagavatam talks about for the person of sattvic qualities. And Baba said many times at the end of all these speeches, for those who are true devotees, for those who
Can you
repeat
please
the name.
speak into the microphone?
Yeah, if you hold the mic like this, yes, in front of you.
For those who repeat the name of God and do their devotion, the fire will turn to ice, so he talked about that. And that's our ashram in our heart, that we can strengthen every single day. And we're having a beautiful experience like this when we go to Heracon, we go to the different ashrams, Schweibenalp in Italy and in where do you guys live? Holland and in America. It gives us a glimpse of how we can live together. And so for the person of sattvic qualities, the person who's remembering God and being a good human being, it is always the Satya Yuga, that age of truth. And for the person of the tamasic energies, which is criticizing, seeing all the bad things about a person, wanting to hurt a person, trying to get ahead by stepping on another person. For that person, it's always the Kali Yuga. So I really have taken that very seriously in my heart. And personally, I'm very optimistic that there's a lot of positive things happening in the world, because we see hundreds of people all the time at the ashram in Preston, and the people that are coming are making a difference. And I think we need to really support that and not put our heads in the sand, that we're obviously going to have these horrible things that are happening already. But that we remember that we do have those islands inside of us and all around us to go to, have satsang with other devotees, and do our practices that Baba Gate gave to us.
Yes, so you knew the same line as the last question.
Every day. Difficult experience with Babaji. He was, of course, confronting in many ways. It's a little bit of repetition what I told 2 days ago, which was a very strong event. And at one point, I was already coming to Babaji for maybe 2 years, and I thought, well, before I gave all my things away, and I only had a bank account, and I had no more material things. Living in India, I thought I will be forever with Babaji, and in Herakam, my life kind of came to full stop in Herakam. Beautiful. So I came with the intention to give all my belongings, all my last money, 100,000 guilders at the time, to give that to him. And just I was already Pujari, so I stayed in Herakam. That was my life. But I came through Delhi, and when I was at the Laos, there Babaji was visiting, having a function in Delhi with the Lao family. There was the yogi Jalendranath, a nice looking yogi Indian, devotee of Babaji, and he approached me, he said, oh, I can give you a mantra, and through that you will feel closer to Babaji. I said, oh, well, I don't know, let me ask Babaji, no? So I went in Delhi to Babaji to ask, this man wants to give me a mantra, and some initiation. And he looked at me from, no, somebody else maybe, not need. Okay, so I said to this man, no, sorry, Babaji said there is no need for initiation. Good. 1 month later in Herakam, I walk up to Babaji, wanting to present him all my money and things. And he said, you, no faith, you go your country. Well, how can you go to somebody and even think of having initiation when you are sitting next to me? I am responsible for your liberation. Sun and stars can move, nothing can happen to you. If you have faith in me. I was completely blown away. He didn't want to accept my money, he just sent me away. He said, you have no faith. You have. And we all got that treatment from you. You're a terrible person, you have no faith. Why you come to me? The next day he would be very loud and you were my best devotee. But he would flip-flop. I saw that, back in his flip-flop with me, it was very shocking, and I can more experience like this, but he would throw you to the limit, embarrass you in front of everybody, in front of the whole hall. He would just say, you are a lousy person, you get out, you have no faith, what you do here? And everybody else. So it's the feeling of being rejected by God is almost unbearable, because it's the one I love. And then he throws me out, he says I'm terrible, where I thought I come to the most loving, beautiful being, which is also true. But he was a psychotherapist, and that's your question. He scared the shit out of us. He really did. That was one of mine.
Well, he did that indeed also a few times to me, but not so much in the very beginning, because in the very beginning I would have said and I would have gone. But I saw a little bit what was going on, and when by the time he said that to me, I thought, all right, we'll see tomorrow what happens. I never got really into a panic because it was sort of tiredness, and I felt so much his real love that I never believed these things, and even if I would have to go, it would be for my best and something would happen. So I never really, I saw quite a few people going through what Pujari went through. I never had that so much myself.
So I have a story, I don't know very many people have heard this one because I wasn't so excited about sharing it. Thanks, Kailash. So some of you heard the story about the gold brocade silk sari that Babaji gave me when I started having some balance in another situation. So it was the end of, almost getting to be the end of my 3-month stay. This was the summer of 1981. And at that point, you needed to renew your visa. And Baba had been so kind and loving and shown so much love to me and my children. And yet, I was like, but if I get to renew my visa, then I know he really loves me, right? So one more test. Plus, I wanted to stay longer. And so I put the gold silk brocade sari, it was evening RT, and I go up and I ask somebody, maybe Gordevi, I don't know who, somebody that could translate, please translate for me, asking Babaji, may I renew my visa? And he said, oh, yes, Ramloti. And I'll show you, we'll tell you where to go and who to stay with. We'll take care of everything. It'll be wonderful. And so I was in 7th heaven, shall we say. I was just like, and quite proud of myself too, thinking probably one of the best devotees here. surely better than that guy that's sunbathing down at the river, like we did when you first came, Raghu. I love this. Anyway, so the next morning, one of the things that was not allowed is after you got Chandan at 4 or so, and then you sat around the sacred fire, and then ideally you went back to your room or down by the river or in the temple, something like that, and spent that very special time meditating and quiet. Not going to the chai shop and having a chai and a bidi and smoke, talking to people, because it's priceless energy when we're there rather than dissipating it. So that morning, apparently, there were quite a few people at the chai shop, and who I thought was my best friend, Motu, was called into Babaji's room by Baba and said, you make a list of all the people who are late for Archie. And so, I wasn't at the chai shop, but she wasn't sure if she should make the list from when they met the Murti or when they opened up the doors. And for me, I would hear them feeding the Murti, and I would come and still be there what I called in time for Archie when they opened the doors and started ringing the bells. But she wrote, so Ramloti was not there, and all these other people. So Baba gets the list, and he said, and Mochi's trying to explain, he says, well, these are the people that were at Archie at time, but they weren't there when the feeding of the Murti. And Baba says, all people leave. They leave tomorrow. And so that same thing here, I was so excited about this, renewing my visa, and all of a sudden I was a bad guy, and I was getting thrown out of the ashram by God. And I also talked yesterday a little bit about Satsang, about one of my biggest obstacles in life is always wanting to be the good girl. And if people disapproved of me, that I feel sad. So anyways, I felt but then he said, all people can stay one more day. So I think he said, leave immediately, but then he said, all people can stay one more day if they stay up chanting all night. I'm going to be chanting all night, right? And really, for me, I took it very seriously. Right after RT, I stayed in the temple until the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. I didn't move. I just chanted. It was a very long night. And other people were like Raghu, I think, they didn't care too much. And then he said, okay, you can stay one more day if you stay up chanting in the temple all night. There I was. And then he did that a third day. And I said the third night, it seemed like me and Moti sitting, just hardly anybody was there. But I was there chanting all night. And then the next morning, Gora says, oh, he didn't mean for you to leave, why don't I'll go with you and we'll ask his forgiveness. I said, okay. So we go and goddesses. Of course, the Ramloti she wasn't really late. She stayed up chanting for 3 nights, and so she's asking for your forgiveness. He said, I forgive her, but she still does not renew her visa. And so he was so adamant on that, and it's like, actually very much like you said, Raghu. He knew it was time for me to go. Because when I really started thinking about it, because every time I saw him, I got to stay another couple of weeks till my visa was ended. But every time I saw him, he would be very gracious, and then he said, and renew visa. So, but when I realized it, I was running out of money. My children had already gone back. They were in school. It was time. I really just wanted him to tell me he loved me one more time. So I think that was one of the most crushing moments when he told me I couldn't renew my visa.
I remember that story also when it happened, but my story is not so funny. I also didn't come to the RT, but when I heard from everybody has to leave who wasn't in the RT, I thought, oh, but that doesn't apply to me. But Tukaram, who is here, I don't know, you know him now, he was there. He went through it in such a funny way. He can tell you the funniest story about that. And I tried to guide him through it from didn't apply to you. But he can tell you better. But for me it was short-lived. I thought, that's for the others.
And I took it so seriously. I will tell you, Musi Radha, I don't see Musi Radha here, but she was here during that time too. And when I saw her the next day, she says, oh yeah, I slept through Arti. And, but I was having dreams of Babaji. So I assumed he didn't mean me.
It comes to the point that Baba really scared us constantly. We were not 1 minute sure that we could stay in Hiraka. You can be very courageous, right? But most of the people there, we were on our toes with us. Also, the story I just told started with, you go your country, you have no fate. And the rest I told, it started to first throw me out. You go away, you go your country, you're no good man, you're no fate. And then ultimately nothing happened. I could just stay, I could continue the puja, because I could feel it is. But Baba, I even wanted to defend myself, but Baba, I didn't ask this man. Of course, Baba, he knew everything, but just to ponder that maybe, no, it is Baba so, he knows so, the smallest thing catches everything in our brains or in our intentions. So there he was constantly confronting you, even if a group of 12 people would come up the stairs, and Baba stopped them and said, only 6 can come up. 6 had to go. So they had to quarrel and said, okay, I really want to go. No, well, I will go to Rishikesh and I will, no. And Baba confronted only the real devotees would come up, and the rest he already sent away halfway the stairs. They could go back. It's how he worked. It was like, it was Shakespeare himself organizing this, orchestrating that, and you stand up, you sing one song. Stand up, you sing one song. Oh. And then he sent somebody away, and then he said, you, very good, you go office. It was such a play, a divine play, and you didn't know for a minute how he was organizing that all. But it was, I don't know, he was so, he could be tough to you and then smile at you and then throws his kaleidoscope of how he interacted with us. In one way he knew everything about us, but he could in the smallest thing react to, oh, you're worried about your hair, and he gives you a calm, or he plays with everybody in a way that you felt an intense relationship with him. Oh, you know Mumuna.
This sending people away was his preferred tool of scaring people. these years, and I've noticed that when they went back, there was something with the family, or there was something happened where they needed to be there at that time. It was always right, but on the moment it felt something like, oh my God, and I saw so many people going through it. It was really
About defending yourself. One time, I was one of the good girls that got to work up in the office, and so I was working in the office, and they had this old tape player that they would, I think, probably play back the speeches of Babaji and maybe go over them for translation or something. So Radhesham, who is one of the head guys in the office, he asked me to go to Swamiji's place. So office is here, Swamiji's is across the ashram, to get the tape recorder. And so I said, sure. So I go over and I get it, and Swamiji's residence was not so tidy, shall we say. He sort of pulled this tape recorder out of a corner, and it was sort of full of cobwebs and things like that, but I just carried it. I was told to get it. So I'm carrying it back to the office, and Babaji stops me. And he looks at it, he says, I know like, and I'm going, you know, you're bad because you're carrying this dirty thing, and it's like, so once again, this idea of wanting to defend myself, but Babaji, they just asked me to get it, they didn't ask me to clean it, I didn't really inspect it, and he just, so it's once again that experience of being able to just say, okay, I guess one of the things I learned the most is taking responsibility for whatever's going on in my life. So if I'm handed a dirty tape player, maybe I should have taken the time to clean it. But Babaji was not happy. He had this saying that was like, I know like. Great face. Did he ever say that to you?
Oh, he said it all the time. But not particularly to me, but he was saying it a lot. We also do, and I like and I don't like are two of the major demons who are influencing our world, which are fought against the goddesses in the Navaratri period. In the Navaratri period, this I like and I don't like are really, instead of experiencing the moment and him, we do that a lot. I think maybe some of you can recognize that. And I don't like
And I think that's really important because I'm not too keen on talking about the past, as if Babaji was in the past, as if Babaji wasn't here right now, knowing each one of our thoughts and what we want to do, what we like and what we don't like, and playing with that. And sure, it's maybe not as obvious or dramatic, but still, I'm sure you've all had experiences where somebody walked up to you at the chai shop and said something that blew you away, or maybe helped you with a situation, or pushed you deeper into your likes or dislikes, because it is all going on now, and like Raghu said, it's the demons that we carry within ourselves.
Yeah, it comes to me that we painting a picture of you of the last years of Babaji, mostly from 81, 82, 83, 84. And Babaji was already so human and playful, even walking with sunglasses and a transistor radio from, hey, you come. And if you go back to how he came, Yogi, he was eating a little bit of fruit. If you read the book from Vijay Guru, there was a 16-year-old boy serving Babaji at the time, traveling constantly with Babaji in his room. Babaji would eat a little bit of fruit and a glass of milk that he prepared for him. That was all. He didn't have to go to the toilet. He was all the time with him. At the time, he would sometimes give chandan to the people. After that, he would go 2 hours in meditation, walk around a little bit. A completely different divine being incarnated. what we are speaking of is actually hilarious. It is us. He mirrored us. He became all of us. That is, the more I'm speaking about it, the more I realize I didn't see Babaji, I saw myself. He saw himself, she saw himself. He's truly a mirror. But on the whole, he became a mirror of the terrible state of humanity. And then he had to die, and he had to leave the body in a looks like very human way. But we just many times thought it was his mother from he has a very nice story she told me. Was a devotee. One of the first Dutch devotees. Anyway, I want to tell that story. The day of Baba Samadhi, the day before that, Babaji was playing, I'm sick, I'm tired. And so I will give darshan. I will go to the temple from his kutir, his area where he lived, his little room, and the duni, and the people tree. He said, no, I will climb the stairs. I will go to the kirtan hall for darshan. And the day he said, no, Babaji, you're not well. You don't have to go. No, I go. And he take a blanket and crawl up the stairs and go to the kirtan hall and sit with his devotees. And then after 1 hour he comes back and Guri was still there down at his kutir. And then Baba came running down the stairs. He was just playing and he said something. Oh, Bariya Lila means nice play, eh? But he tells it to you, I did good there. Yes, and he told sometimes also that I'm only acting. He played us. And he did it so good that we really believed it. But of course, if we walked with Transistor Radio and said, hey, you come. He was so, at the same time, knowing all the karmas of all these people that were around him. It is like beyond capacity to even talk about what kind of awareness or consciousness Babaji is. But yeah, your mother, dearly respected, recited Babaji's activities in Holland. Babaji told to her, you go your country, you cannot come back before you first have to make one center for me. So in her home in Amsterdam, she put one picture of Babaji and one candle and a tape recorder, and that was our center. So that's how Babaji started. In Holland, there's a tape recorder and a picture of Babaji, and we sing, that's how it started. And slowly, 40 years later, Babaji is doing that through all his soldiers, through all his devotees. It's magic what's going on. And maybe in 2000 years, the world will really be full of Babaji. This is our prayer. But I brought this up to see, we speak about the Babaji on a mirroring level of our psychology, our traumas, our way we stand in life, our image of ourselves. And Babaji was just playing with us, trying to destroy any image of ourselves, just serve. Many times he told me, Pujari, you just serve. I said, Babaji, you just serve. The shortcut was you serve. But then the question, if you came with a mental question from Babaji will really look in another way and say, you talk to him. But you speak he had no interest in our mental image of ourselves, or what they have about you, or a problem with her, or this. Please, don't trouble God with that stuff. Don't pray for anything. Just be there, be here, be loving. He would just live that as an example, but very confronting. And if you didn't get it, he sent you away. Brutally or softly, but...
It was sort of like I was sharing with some of you about my first meeting with Babaji in Wapi, Gujarat. And all that was on my mind was that I didn't have a sari on, that I heard you had to wear around Babaji. And that's all I had on my mind, not that I was walking into the presence of the divine. And of course, when I went up to pranam to him, just screamed and yelled. So Kailash is probably the most horrible moment of my life. The first words out of Babaji's mouth to me were, "You know pranam, no sorry." And I just broke down and cried until somebody picked me up and took me somewhere and put a sari on me. And then I felt okay. And Baba responded to me, let me know that I am okay, no matter what I have on. So that was I think that was a really good example of Baba mirroring what's going on inside of us.
I remember a little story. When I was very dirty, I was working on the Kufa side in the cow. Ramloti cleaning up, and Babaji came to the Gufa for darshan. But I was very dirty and muddy, and I said, "Oh no, I can't go to Baba like this." But anyway, I made pranam from the car. And then he said, he gave so much love, so much smile, that he, this is, you're not dirty. This is so beautiful. If I could, I have to pranam to Babaji. It is, we are not dirty. If we think we are dirty, we're dirty. If we think we are pure, we're pure. Something like this. It's all, he was constantly mirroring.
Yeah, this thing with fear, we know from all the spiritual teachings that one of the things with humanity individually then is fear is so strong in our life. For some reason, in my package of my karma, I didn't have that so much. Because I already, when I was a kid, I didn't see what was dangerous or not. So I didn't have that with Babaji. And that's why, most probably, because I reflected very much, there were just a few people who were never sent away. And I was one of those. But I was always wondering why. Well, I think because of fear, and also because of no desires, really. I didn't have a desire, I didn't want anything from him. I was just in love with him.
Can you tell the story about this pact that you wrote almost?
Yeah, the watch. Yeah, the watch. Okay. One, I'm standing next to Babaji, and somebody came and gave him a box. The box was simple on the outside, and he opened it up, and there was a watch inside. And he looked at the watch, he put it on, and he said, he looked at me, he said, "You like?" I said, "I don't need a watch." I was living in Herakan. He said, "I give you." He said, "No, I don't." And he was wearing a really good watch, an expensive watch. He said, "You like this watch?" And I said, "Beautiful watch," but I didn't care at all about a watch. He started to take it up. He said, "I give you." He said, "No, I don't want the watch." Okay. He put it all back, and then he was, there were many people, and they were making pranam or singing. I don't know exactly what was happening anymore at that time. But he had this wooden cardboard box, and he had a pen, and he was drawing on it a little bit while he was interacting with everybody. And he was there in the box. It was like he was more interacting with the people than really paying attention himself to what he was doing. He was just busy drawing something on different sides of the box, and I was looking what he was doing, and I saw his own Shirai, his signature. And all of a sudden he tore the whole thing open, and became a white cross with several Om Namah Shivaya is written everywhere. And then he looked at me and said, "You like?" Yes, Papa. And it's still in my bedroom. Question two.
Can you maybe share something about the last days of Babaji and what it did to you? Because we know that he's still around, but I can imagine it was a strong transformation to not having physically around anymore. Can you share some of the moments and what it did to you and the devotees in general?
It's a big story.
I didn't hear it.
It makes it easy for you. It was tough.
Wait, can you tell us the question?
The question is what was going on in the last days before Babaji, before he went in Samadhi. It was just, I don't know, 4 or 5 days before he actually left his body. Everything was going on fine. He was looking a bit more swollen or something, but that happens sometimes in these last years. It was going a little bit up and down. But one morning, in the morning, we would all sit together with him for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, singing something and distributing some toffees before going to Karma Yoga. And then after that darshan, I was sitting with him and people went away, and I usually took care of the things which were given and the chair or whatever. And he said, "No, you sit." Oh, I sat, and he stayed in the chair. There was nobody around anymore. And then he got a date and he said, "Get me a blanket." So I was still sitting there with the box full of nuts and toffees. No, you sit, you meditate. So I was not quite a meditator at that time. I never did these things. I had a mala, but on that moment I didn't have a mala. So I did, okay, he asked me to sit. I was not busy on any particular heavy spiritual path, so I was just sitting and waiting. And he sort of went in a little bit reclined position, and he was sitting there. And for half an hour more. And then Dora Devi came and he said, "Get me a mattress." And then right there, it was sunny, it was end of January, so it was sunny, got a mattress, and he said to me, "No, you stay, you meditate." I had always many things to do, so I was more thinking of my many things to do than to sit and meditate. But he tells me, so everything he tells was always great, although I didn't know how to do that. And he just, very unusual, on that mattress, he took a blanket and I was kidding. I didn't have a watch, by the way. So at a certain point I thought, well, just 5 minutes, I take this box and put it into place. And I ran around and I came back and he was still lying there. And again, I spent half an hour there. I kept on lying there. And I ran around to do something else. I was running some things in the ashram, so I thought I went again for 5 minutes to run around and did something, came back. He stayed there all morning. And that was the beginning where he didn't really come up anymore. He stayed around, he was still, I think from that moment onwards he came only one night back to the Kirtan Hall, but for the rest he was being sick. But very different than when we are sick. He didn't, he was complaining a little, but we didn't know what was going on, and he was very clearly showing what he was showing to Bori from, he would be sitting there, and then somebody would come in and say, "Hey, did you have food? Everything was all of a sudden normal again. So it was really difficult for us who were used to seeing these different things from is it real or can we do something? You will tell me, and for the rest, I didn't really believe in this so much. It was just a play. And he came out one evening still, and we thought, it's a flu. The doctor was being called, and he said something about pneumonia, but I wasn't particularly coughing much. And he took some medicine. He was told to take some medicine, but it seemed all part of his play. And but he didn't come out. That was already 3-4 days, which is 3-4 days in Herakan with Babaji was a month or a year of your life. And then that's my personal experience in that I was that morning. I thought, because some people were coming and going, and most people didn't see him anymore because he stayed always in his area. And on that morning, I thought, well, I won't go this morning. I won't bother him too much. He wants to take some rest. And all of a sudden, I see Radhashyam coming by, who had most probably been there, and he was crying. And somebody was standing next to me. You see Radhashyam crying? I said, yeah. I saw that. Better go and have a look. So I went to go to his room, and there I saw Babaji lying on the bed, Gauradevi in trance, not in a happy, in a crying. And I think it was months ago, Hari, I don't remember now exactly, who was sitting there, standing in Babaji's room with his lifeless body. And I didn't believe it. I thought, he's going to get up. But it didn't feel good, but he didn't get up. Some hours later, some people who were more rational in their approach, there was a road on that moment to Herakan. There was almost never a road, but on that moment there was a road, and they brought a truck full of ice. And they put the ice on a bed so he could be outside, and people started coming from Haldwani, but they were called from all over the world, and particularly from India. They took the first planes and trains to be there, and they put Babaji on ice. And I thought, now he's going to get up because that's cold. But he didn't. And yeah, it was so difficult to come to terms with that. And many people were crying. I couldn't cry. I was more like stunned, and I just couldn't believe it. And more people came. Yeah, there was a lot of waiting going on. And yeah, it was him leaving the body. It was, for me also, I had given up everything, and I didn't even give up anything. There was just nothing else important anymore. And I had dedicated my life to him, and it was gone. I'd never seen a dead body in my whole life before that. It was the first dead person that dead body that I saw, and it was devastating. In the week while this was going on, something incredible happened in Herakan with the devotees who were there. I think many of us were awake for a week or for 10 days, singing bhajans and calling him, and there was such an intensity in where are you now? Because we all knew that Babaji was not that man. We all knew that he was this timeless and formless thing. But he had a form, and we were dealing very, very direct with him. So all of a sudden, that form was gone, and now we had to deal with the fact that he was, something else. It was, for me personally, very difficult. It has helped me a lot to find him and to see him beyond the form, which I thought I did before, but I guess I didn't. And as you can hear, when I think about that moment and that thing, I'm still getting very emotional.
It comes to me the beautiful thing that happened to Cora Devi, like the first Italian devote who came early to Babaji in 72 or something. And first thing Babaji told this lady is that you will stay 12 years with me. And after 12 years, Babaji told her, now you are 12 years with me. Now you are 12 years with me. One time. Then he told her a second time. And I said, yeah, so 12 years. Now I'm 12 years with you. And he told her a third time. I said, oh, now I'm sure something is going to happen. He will send me away. This is my, or I'll die, or it's an accident, or I don't know, this is the end. Until he went in Samadhi, and then she understood. The 12 years have passed. Babaji knew he came for 40 years to do a job, take a kind of Samadhi, in a very human, hunky-funky way, and then it's finished, and he left peace, all the teachings and the beauty. That's one level of the student that I want to convey. He's an immortal who just comes, does his thing, and says, now it's enough. I did my job. Work is done. Bye-bye. Darshan finished. I was also there in a similar state like this, but in my case, I was a Pujari at the main temple in Hiraka, and for some reason, about 2 months before his Samadhi, he sent me to the other side to Gorari, to be Pujari with Gorari and another Pujari at the Gufa site, it's called. Those who've been in Hiraka know it very well. At that time, there was only 9 temples and a Ram Kutir with a cow. And I stayed there with Gorari in a simple room, 2.5 by 2.5 meters, 2 nets on the floor where we slept. We often have beautiful memories of that time with him. Very simple life, just took care of the temples, and I was Ananda there. And in those 2 months, when I would come to the other side, to Babaji for darshan, you would look at me from, why you come? Gufa. Gufa. I beg. I was happy there. Gorari same. He was a Pujari on the main side, and then Babaji sent him already there, and he's really responsible for the Gufa and everything. And I was like the second Pujari. I could help him and do the temples and stuff. So when he took Samadhi, 1 or 2 days before he took Samadhi, I heard I was not well. It was the only time I did the puja to the mother temple because Gorari was staying with Babaji, so I had to also had the opportunity to dress the mother and take care of all the temples in Erika on the Gufa. But I heard Baba was not well. Baba was not coming to the Gufa, he was sick. So I went to the other side, and when I came there, Mansingh opened the gate. Yeah, go look. Mansingh looked stressed. He said, yeah, go. So I went down the stairs to Babaji. Babaji was sitting in the chair with a blanket, and I look at Babaji, make my pranam, and I said, Babaji's fine. I feel Babaji's fine. Smile at him. You take one apple. That's it. I go back to the Gufa happily. When I come in front of the mother temple, there was lying a dead crow, a dead bird crow. And it was being picked on by 6, 7 other crows. And the temple scene. So we had to get buckets of water and clean that all up. That was like an omen. I was not aware of it, but for sure it was an omen. Because a day later, or some hours later, I'm confused about my timing, because time was very different in Erika. But that was my last darshan of Babaji. That he showed me everything's fine, only I'm going. And I had not much to do with the whole Samadhi. I went there for darshan and all the crying people, but my duty was on the Gufa. I had to take care of all these temples and keep going, and you can let the mother. It's a magical experience of many levels, but he left and the world stopped on the 14th February 1984. For us devotees there, we couldn't move. It's like the birds didn't sing, the trees didn't move. It was like a few days full moon it was such an intensity of shock, because every day all that was the boss was gone. Nobody knew anymore how to continue. It was a very difficult period. Luckily there was Moniraji, who had the sanity to deal with everything, including the despair of the devotees. Was our life stopped. We thought we would be forever with Babaji. I gave everything, I didn't have anything.
He was our age. I mean, he looked like our age. So, he was not an old man. It was, but, you know, I would like to bring it back to here one moment. There was, as you can hear, you still drink these stories from Babaji, how nice and how special and how beautiful and how verifying and all these things. But yeah, it was our life, and it was so intense to see him all of a sudden go. But he never really went anywhere. And what we experience now here in these days, when we do what we do, the fires and the singing and everything, I feel even stronger than much than he was there, how present he is. How present he is with all of us. And you don't get that loss, that feeling of loss, even though we know all these things from God, but that feeling of missing what we had of being with him, and now after 40 years of samadhi, still I get emotional when I think about it, how beautiful it was. Well, you just can experience how he's alive here amongst us now in anybody's heart. And I mean, he was not that person, he was mirroring, he was divine presence who came with a message, and that message is really important. I am you, most beautiful book. I hope it's sold out here tonight.
So I was not in Paragon when Babaji left his body. I was with him 81 for a month, and then the summer of 81, and then in the summer of 82. And in 83, the summer, because I had children and they were in school, so it wasn't like I could just pick up and leave. So I assumed we would go the summer of 83. And then when the summer of 83 came around, certain things transpired and that wasn't possible. And my thought was, oh, well, we'll go next summer. That would have been the summer of 84. And so that was hard to realize that how close I was going to be there in 83 with him again. A few things that happened though in that trip of 82 is I brought him a pair of binoculars because, you know, what did Baba like? You know, that was always what would he like? It's like, he doesn't like, you know, he doesn't need or want anything, you know, so it's this idea of bringing him again, but I had seen, you know, he was always out in nature looking, so I thought, oh, a little pair of binoculars would be great. So I brought him that, and we were in his room, just the two of us, and I handed him this gift, and he looked at it, and he looked at me, and he said, why do people keep bringing me things? Don't they know now I'm trying to give everything away? Those were his words to me. And that moment, I felt like he was leaving pretty soon. And I saw this, just sort of what I perceived was a weariness in it. He had just returned from Purnima, blazing hot weather, and Vrindavan, you know, and all these people. But I perceived, this is it. And once again, for me it doesn't feel right to attribute human emotions to God, because it's all beyond that. he, she, it is everything, including all the emotions, but it felt like I'm tired of this thing. And I would notice, Babaji would walk along the pathway. He could walk from here to there without 20 people bowing at his feet, tripping over them, and it's like, this must get old. And that's how it felt in that moment. The other thing that happened is, as I was leaving, getting ready to leave from that trip, he kept saying to me, "You renew visa?" He was asking me if he wanted me to, or him to organize renewing his visa after the whole scenario the year before. This time it's like, you renew it. It felt like he was telling me to stay. But, I had responsibilities. I had my list of to-dos, and I was working, and I promised my boss I wouldn't be gone for an extended period of time. So I said, no, Baba, I have to come. But I'll come back. I'll come back. He says, "You renew visa?" So those are probably the last words he said to me. You renew visa. So. But I can tell one more story that people have maybe heard, was when in 1981 he started saying, now it's time to spread the word about my message. And he said, go on the TV and on the radio and spread my word about truth, simplicity, and love. And I thought to myself, that sounds a little scary to go on television and start talking. But I had done slideshows at my son's graduate school, getting people to volunteer. So I showed slides of how they could volunteer, and I thought I could do a slideshow because it's dark. You can have a little script in front of you and nobody can see what you're up to. So I thought, I'll do a slideshow. But I had a camera and I had no film left in it. And in 81, Albany was not the place to buy film for a camera. Albany was hardly, couldn't get film even in Delhi was challenging. And so I wanted to take some special pictures to have this life. I thought I would go through a day, what it was like to be with Babaji. That would be a very nice theme. And so I asked somebody about film, where could I get some film? And they said, no, we'll just go, but ask Babaji, he's got everything. People give him everything, and of course, this is true. And so I, sort of scared, I went up to Babaji and I said, Babaji, do you have any film that I could have? And he smiled, and he went prancing into his room, and he came out with not just film, but 2 rolls of slide film for me for my camera. So I thought, okay, that was the okay to do a slideshow. Anyway, so I started taking pictures, and then I knew every afternoon he would go over to the Gufa side and stand at each of the temples. Who knows what he was communicating at that time to the temples or what was going on, but it seemed like a mystical time. However, it was monsoon season in summer, and at that point, I couldn't cross the river myself. So I asked permission if I could go with him. And he said, oh yes, Ramloti. So when it was afternoon and he was about to go, he came and got me, and we went down the stairs, and then Baba went over to this group of workers and gave them some toffee and some instructions, and to another group, and to another group. And then he said, there was a big rock right next to the river. And he said, you sit here. I thought, okay, Baba said, sit, I'll sit. And I figured he was going to some other group of workers. And I sat there. And it seemed like in an instant, he was across the river with 1 or 2 other people. And I was still on this side of the river on this rock. And I thought, oh. So I did my litany. He doesn't love me. He doesn't care about me. He forgot about me. If I was important, if I was a good devotee, he would have taken me. So I was sitting on this rock, crying out, feeling so bad about myself. And then finally, once again, by God's grace, by Baba's grace, I came to my senses. And then Babaji said, sit on this rock. I said, I will sit on this rock. And I sat on that rock and closed my eyes. And when into a meditation of sorts. And all of a sudden, I could feel his heart on the other side of the river come over and into my heart. And I could just feel it. My heart felt like it just was growing so huge it would like explode my whole body. And so the most wonderful gift I could ever have. And for sure when I left, after he threw me out of the ashram, when I left and everything, and had to leave him, and then also when I got the phone call that he had left his body, by God's grace, it was a little different. Yes, I adored being with him. But there was a fullness that never left, and so I'm grateful to this day, because that's why I always say, he's here, he's nowhere, he hasn't gone, he's here. So I'm very grateful.
Yeah, if I may, one more thing to answer that question. As I was just suggesting to you to get that book, I Am You, that came from the moment, the evening before Babaji left his body. We used to come always just before Aarti and sit in front of his door, and when he would come out, we would walk to the Kirtan Hall, and he would sit on the asana, and we would be there. But on these days that he was sick, I don't remember if it was every day, but on the evening before, we were in his room with 4 ganas, attendants, yogis, whatever label you would like to. We were in this room with the 4 of us. I don't really remember anymore exactly who, but I remember Loknath and Katagiri. And we were standing there looking at him, and he was like, not well, sitting on the bed like that. And we were standing there looking at him, and all of a sudden he got up, and he has a very tiny quarter in Herka, very tiny room. So with the 4 of us in there, it was already full. And he came and stood in the middle of us, and he took his finger and he said, I am you. And then he turned the quarter, and then he did that to the next person, I am you, pointing at the heart. And he made a few rounds like that. And we, of course, are standing there very close. And and then it was over. But that, of course, became really powerful afterwards, because it was not only for the 4 of us. It's for everybody who can feel inside.
Yeah, he also quite often said, I come to give nectar, and devotees always choose poison.
Microphone.
My devotees always choose poison. It's like we are so, just I can imagine how compassionate Babaji could look at all of us as human beings, as all the troubles and difficult samskaras and going through a very troublesome life, and still, after physically meeting him, it doesn't mean that life became glorious immediately. This is glorious moments also for us, because we also go through our human experience with growing up, children, taking care, getting stuck in the traffic, or all the things are still happening. But the exercise to stay with him, he is in my heart, he's always there. Just this knowing helps a lot. And I think that's for everybody the same. You really have to understand it's never outside. It's only in us that the puzzle can be solved. The Babaji, he was with everybody, but he was very calm, one by one, helping you. It's you. You are God. You are my devotee. You are precious. And that was for everybody. For her, for me, for everybody. For you, everybody. For Babaji, everything is divine. Everything was so disciplined. Every morning he was there for us. Even in the night, we were sleeping on the roof, and in the night he would walk around on his terrace under the moon, and we would wake up in the middle of the night. Hey, why was he still walking there? And we would sleep outside on his shop under the stars, and we would see Babaji walking. Incredible. And he would be available 4 o'clock. We go for Chandan. The most precious moments sitting with him at his fireplace. He would, in the dark, come out. You hear the river, the birds waking up. He would sit there under his people tree. There's a small fireplace, click, 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 and offering swaha without words. Just, you feel he's connecting with the whole cosmos, giving praise to the whole divine beings. The most beautiful, I often say this, the most beautiful moments of my life is sitting with Babaji near his people tree at his fireplace. And he was like, for me, this, even in 81, 82, 83, 84, the most divine moments. In the daytime it became casino. You good girl! You go! Oh. In the toilet. It was hilarious. It's again Shakespeare in action. Shakespeare constantly playing. Loving us compassionately, but oh Mamma Mia, how terrible for Baba to see all this human funniness that we carry, how we destroy our happiness. You happy, I'm happy. For Baba's life was very simple.
How do you feel about what happened in Omsk, and what do you learn about that?
How do you feel what happened in Omsk, that temple, no, not the temple, the main ashram building that burned down?
And what do you learn? What you feel and what you learn about that?
Well, it's still in process, but
we went through a similar process in Holland, where the ashram burned down in 1980.
there's a beautiful picture on the box if you want to see what it means.
Yeah. I came back from India, I sleep half a night, and in that night the whole ashram gone. 500 square meters gone. No ashram. And Munias was coming 2 months later. And we had a celebration with 400 people without an ashram, only tents and a good. Everybody slept in tents, hotels, and life goes on. And for almost the same. They just built a new temple, a wooden structure in Russian style, big blocks. Now they put the mortis in there. It's not the finished building, but they put the mortis there. Today they send some movies about how they're cleaning up the burned buildings and they start to work. It's transformation. It's going through the fire. In Holland it came out beautiful, but we got 1 million from the insurance company. In Russia they have nothing. So we try to help them with the box. At least to go through the winter and continue. But for sure they are sending out very strong messages how they will rebuild. And they, because Babaji, all we are the soldiers. They said it transformed, in 30 years this ashram exists already. Say it transformed so many lives, we cannot let this go to waste. We will quickly continue, and in 2 weeks they have their summer navaratri, so they will go on. But it's like a samadhi. Baba went for us in samadhi. For their ashram went in samadhi. Same like Schweibenalp burns down, you get 2 million, 5 million from the insurance and you have to start over.
The Russians are very strong people, so for sure they will manage. But for them, at the moment, they have the feeling that they're not alone. Because staying, it's not in Moscow, it is in Siberia, in the middle of nowhere. So for them, if we can send them somehow that message, we are with you, that will give them the power to do what is waiting for them to do. Because once you're really hit by poverty, you can't say, well, I'm going to do something else. So if we can somehow send this message in one way, because at the moment the Iron Curtain is again erected, it's very difficult to go in and out. Pujari is the only one that I know actually. So if we can still give that feeling to them that we are all one, at least the Bhagavad devotees, then that will be very heartwarming and supporting for their.
I have a question. Of course, I know about my dad, but so when was the moment for you that, from just looking at Babaji as a person or a fat Indian, whatever you had, switched to, oh my God, I love him. You know, if it was a moment of switch, or it happened slowly, you know?
I get it.
Yeah.
I was extremely slow.
He was sunrising in the river.
Having very much my doubt about that strange man and all these strange people there, so for me was a process which I took longer than most people.
No, I can tell you a moment. When I came already very devoted, because I'm going to be Babaji. I came with that almost excitement, I can say. And I already knew a little bit arti, and knew some mantras, and I'm really fun. So I was already come with some faith, different than Raghu. He was like a rebel, and he's still a rebel. But the moment you asked for, one moment I have to tell is, I was singing arti for Babaji. He was sitting on his asana in Herakam, and while singing arti, I looked at Babaji, and he had a mala tied, a beautiful mala around his head with a beautiful feather in it, a big feather in it. And I said, wow, he looks like an American Indian. And while I was having to keep singing, I thought, wow, so beautiful. He must be the chief of the American Indians. And Babaji picks up an apple and plucks over the harmonium in my lap. He said, wow, I'm so lucky. This is the way I communicated with Babaji. He knows everything. You think, feel something, and he responds to that. But he is also responding to other people. It doesn't matter, you're not special. But at that moment, this lands in me. I think, wow, I'm so lucky. I sit here, and I get very emotional while playing. That's not so difficult for me to get emotional when I play. But sitting with Babaji, I think, I really sit in front of God. And I realize I'm the luckiest of my life. I'm aware this is luck. I sit here singing for God in form. And he picks up a bag of nuts, and so he ploop over the harmonium in my lap. It was very difficult to keep singing, but you have to keep singing. But that was, you asked for the moment that you realize, I sit in front of God.
So, I can't tell you if it was really the first moment, but it was a biggie. And we were sitting out on the terrace, and that time of year it was quite hot, and so I would sit out on the terrace, and we'd all be outside singing and chanting, and I don't even remember what led up to it so much, but it was a beautiful night of chanting, and I was just really in the moment and just looking at Babaji. And all of a sudden he just turned into golden light, his whole body. And that was that. They did that once, and the Divine Mother did that once also in Christian. Those moments are truly priceless. That will be a very big moment for me.
Thank you.
similar experiences sitting in this temple as we're singing.
It's so thick here at the moment. I mean, not only here, but at this very moment, but at the fire, at the artis. It is so thick. This presence of Babaji. After 35 years of doing this and experiencing in the body, that at the moment, you can't wish for anything more than what we have here now. The only thing what might be ruining it is our own thoughts.
Like in this life.
Like in this life. And all of you are here. For nobody it was an easy trip, I'm sure. But we've come because Baba called us, each one of us, each one of you. I'm struck with how many people are coming to the ashram in Creston these days, who sort of show up by surprise, but they already know who Babaji is. And I feel that more and more where it used to be, oh, who's Harakan Baba, But, oh yes, I have a picture of him on my altar, oh yes. And so, like Raghu says thick, I think Baba's very, 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 very present. And I think we could probably all run into him any moment, so it's a very special time. And they talk about that in the Srimad Bhagavatam too, but the Kali Yuga, which we apparently are in, if it's not obvious, is a very challenging time, but on the other hand, it's a very blessed time. And one step that we take, God takes so many steps back to us. So in a sense, we may not have to sit in the cave for thousands of years like the different stories have, that we just get to be good people and do our lives and be with one another and give support when things happen, because not only do ashrams burn down, but people's homes burn down, people's husbands die, different things go on just in my own family, I know. And the importance of giving that support and love. And remembering that, Babaji is reaching out to all of us, and sometimes it's very hard lessons, but our love and support and Baba's presence is so important. I can't tell you how much your presence has been important in my life, because these last few days just, thank you.
And just know, we are not the perfect devotees. We are just devotees. That's very obvious. And
Speak for yourself.
yeah. I know him for 44 years. I don't want to speak for myself. I like to speak about you. And you know. But I mean to say, really, every person is so special. Even one can sing nice, one can do this nice, one can. We all have some kind of, Baba called us for some kind of duty. And it's up to us to live up to it, to go for it. And it can be very quiet, can be big duty, small duty. Can be gardening, can be cooking, can be cleaning, can be singing. It doesn't matter. Can be being doctor, can be count money. Everything you do is kriya. Do it as a yogi. Live with me every second. I tell that story once at Pujari. I quickly make the temple, got prasad, everything ready. In the evening, Baba Sittal is a sound and Pujari has to offer the prasad to Baba. Pujari always a big plate of prasad. shock. Everybody, psychotherapist, rejection, my number probably. Really, get out. There I go with this big plate. But I know he did this. When I walk back with the plate to the Pujari room, I sit down, the senses for what's happening. And I realized I was in a hurry. I quickly cut the temple, or cut the prasad, make the temple nice, put the flowers, and prepare the arti. Ready to go do the arti. But when I offered the prasad, Baba said, hey, something went wrong. You get out. I don't touch this prasad, which you make with this energy. That's why I say you can be a cook, you can do it, whatever you do, no matter what you do, breathe, eat, sing, mantra, whatever you do it with 100% attention. Otherwise, Baba is not interested. But he did it to me also to convey that same message to his other soldiers. That's why I tell the story.
Yeah, he'd love to sober you up. I remember we were in Delhi once, and I was talking about this, that some man from Bombay came, and he had a suitcase full of stacks of 100 rupee notes, which was the maximum there was. A whole suitcase full, like a bank robbery. Whole suitcase full. And he came on, but it was on a stage, a little stage, and I was sitting on that stage, and some others were standing there, and this man took that suitcase, and he opened the suitcase, and he showed it to everybody, and then gave it to Babaji. And Babaji looked at it close. Somebody, I don't remember who, maybe it was even me from, or no, it was not me, because it was, and he said, someone said, oh, that's a lot of money. And he said, it's not even enough to pay for the salt of one bandara, one feast meal for all my devotees. But, this man was standing there, he depends so much on, and he could be happy with a flower, or he could be happy, he could be grateful with a flower. It was just the intention. He didn't need anything. He came with nothing, and he left with nothing. Like all of us will also.
Like Baba also said, when your mind is quiet, you know God.
Could you say that again?
When your mind is quiet, you can know God. That's the space. You feel His presence.
So thank you to keep him so close to us. Thanks for that.
And goodbye to all of you out there.